I've wanted to do a Broken War versus a War video since it came out. I avoided it until it landed on console because it was going to happen quick, which it did. I think it was only like 3 weeks in total, including the wait that the Xbox had over the PlayStation for whatever reason that was. But it's now on all of them, so let's get on with this. And be forewarned, there is going to be a rather big spoiler because I have to show part of the second dream quest for the main reason to my conclusion as to which one of these I prefer. So we'll start with the War Sword. It's got a total damage of 140, and what is it? It's mainly impact at 112 impact, 3.5 puncture, 24.5 slash with a crit chance of 20%, a crit multiplier of 2 times, and a status chance of 20. The build I have on this is basically corrosive added in here with damage, and more damage. Then I've thrown Berserker and True Steel in. True Steel increases the crit chance, but it only takes it to 32, so these two mods are kind of useless, but if Berserker does have a chance of kicking in, oh, it becomes such a much better weapon. And Fury because, well, the biggest downside to the war, despite the total of 140 physical damage, the slam attack doing 280 damage, even the slide at 280, these are the base stats, is just the fact that its attack speed is 0.917. And it can get pretty silly swinging that round, especially if you throw Spoiled Strike in here, because it lowers the attack speed to 0.733. And without the Berserker in there to kind of counter that, if you can get it to kick in, because the Berserker has a chance of increasing the attack speed, it doesn't always do it. Yeah, this thing can become so slow that while trying to swing once, most enemies will take you out. So, even though it is the most powerful weapon, melee weapon, in the game, it's not at the same time, because the speed of it, like most of the ultra damage heavy weaponry, melee weapons again, it has a really slow attack speed, and it kind of doesn't make up for it. Even if you throw straight up damage, have a heavy trauma, and I'm trying to remember the name of that other one, because there's two mods that add I think it's called Collision Force, adds another 120% impact damage to it. That will take this to like 1200 impact damage, but that attack speed being so low is not really worth it. But if you put that in instead of Spoiled Strike, everything else comes down and it doesn't balance out that well. So this is one of those weapons that it's a pain to get a hold of because the Shadow Stalker drops it, and to build it you've got to use 2300 polymer bundle, 1400 Rabido, 5 of the Nightin extracts, and you have to use the Broken War to construct this. The only way the building requirements for this weapon could be worse is if it required 2 Broken Wars to build this. That would have sucked. And honestly, the only way to make the war justifiable is if you have Valkyria with Warcry on the go all the time. But if another melee only event thing comes across, tactical alert, you go in with 4 Valkyrias, set up for Warcry and 4 wars, you're gonna walk through most of them, because even though this weapon has a few downsides like getting it and the attack speed, it is still a hell of a good weapon. But the Broken War, on the other hand, it does do 90 total physical damage compared to the war's obviously 140. It's got a crit chance of 15%, a multiplier of 1.5, but the status is only 10, so it, as you can imagine, everything is lower. The problem is the slam attack on this thing is 90, whereas the slam attack on the war is 280. The slide attack's the same, even the wall attack is the same between the two. Because, of course, the Broken War, and this is where the spoilers come in, is obtained because the Stalker kind of sticks it in your chest. Well, he sticks the war in your chest and then you rip the two apart, and that's how the Broken War is acquired. Because the only way to get a hold of this damn thing is to either complete the second dream quest or have the Shadow Stalker drop it, because the Shadow Stalker can also drop it. They are going to eventually add this to the sortie missions, or at least I've seen places they've said they're going to. It even says on the wiki it will be available through sortie missions sometime in the future. Hopefully when it appears in there it comes built, because to build this thing, and this is where things go really weird and really bad really quickly, it's 2700 oxium, 1300 I can't remember if it was plastides or plastides, 2 of the niton extracts, and the worst ingredient that this thing needs, because it only gives 1 Broken War, it requires the actual war to build it. So you have to sacrifice a war to build the Broken War if you don't have one, but at the same time you need the Broken War to build the war. So getting both of them at the same time is actually possible. You get the Broken War from the quest, and the war you can buy Hunhau's gift. That's pretty much the only way to have both of them at the same time for now, because one requires the other. Of course, the problem is, if you want to build either of these, well, there's no nice way of putting it. Tough shit. All of this aside, I do prefer the Broken War more than the war. Not because it does less damage, or even the fact it's got a much faster attack speed. Yes, I know I said fire rate again. It's mainly because the Vengeful Revenant stance is amazing. It has a really nice animation behind it. It is purposely done for the Broken War. There's kind of the point of, it was shoved through your chest, which makes it a cool little weapon. It replaced the Dakra, like, badly, as the most powerful sword. The sword being the weapon type of the Broken War, because it's a sword. It's not a dual sword, it's not in nunchucks, it's not a heavy blade, it's not a hammer, it's just classed as a sword. And eventually, if it is added to the sortie missions, I would like to have 2 or 3 of these, because with the lenses and everything, you can either keep swapping the lenses between weapons, or you set up certain builds for certain focus types, and that is a whole different thing. But it's just the Broken War. It's got a faster attack speed. Okay, yes, it's got 50 less damage. It's got 5% less crit chance, 0.5 less crit multiplier, 10% less status. Its slide attack and wall attacks are the same, but its slam attacks separate, different. It does, 190 less on the slam? But it's just better for some reason. It's more fun to use, it's more expensive to build, because it uses the war itself. But it's just, I like it. I liked my single-bladed weapon in the first place. I used the Dakra for a long time. I replaced it with whips for range more than anything else, but the first time I used the Broken War, it was amazing. The stance is amazing, the weapon is amazing. The war itself is a hell of a good weapon. I am still going to use that for a lot of stuff, but day-to-day running round, I think, hands down, it's going to have to be the Broken War.